It's September 27th, 2016, and we are interviewing Chris Gutierrez at the Illinois State Library. Mr. Gutierrez is 55 years old, having been born on August 8th, 1961. My name is Regina Corthals, and I will be the interviewer. Deb Draper will be the court reporter for this interview. Would you please state for the recording in what war and branch of service you served?
I served in the United States Marine Corps from 1979 to 1983, and the Beirut and Lebanon conflicts were ongoing.
Nice. We're going to start with some biographical details. Could you please tell us a little about yourself, where you were born?
I was born in Hillsboro, Illinois in 1961. I lived all my life in actually in Taylor Springs, which is a couple miles south of Hillsboro. And I lived there until I went in the Marine Corps in 1979. After 4 years in the Marine Corps, I went out to Dallas for a couple years since the construction was going on out there, and come back to Hillsboro in 84, late 84, and been there ever since. Worked as electrical maintenance for 20 some years, and in internet programming, and worked for the circuit clerk's office, and I sell insurance for State Farm.
Nice. What family did you leave behind when you entered the service? Did you have siblings? Did you have any other family members join the service?
My grandfather was in World War II, Dale Hart, and I left my mom's mom and dad, and then my parents, and then a younger sister had just moved out to California before I went out there for boot camp.
What was your occupation before entering the service?
Just part-time jobs, odd jobs, busboy, grocery sacker, just things like that.
Sure. How did your family and friends feel about you going?
Because of my size and going in the Marine Corps, they weren't really sure that I would have made it through Marine Corps Basic.
Nice. So in your early days of service, did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted.
Right. This is how did you feel about being drafted, but we're not going to do that. If you enlisted, why did you choose that specific branch of the military?
Because they were supposed to be the best. That's why I choose it. And I felt I could do the challenge, and I did.
What was the first day of service like? How did you feel?
Honestly,
honestly.
It was hell. I was scared to death, wondering what I did there, and then actually was thinking back to my dad's words, well, what am I going to do? What am I doing here? Am I actually going to make it? And pushed myself through that night, and then just went through it, and actually come out meritorious PFC at a boot camp.
Where did you go for basic training?
Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego.
What was it like leaving for training camp, and what were your early days of training like?
Boot camp, or actually after boot camp?
It's just any of it, anything that you feel like talking about.
Yeah, boot camp was just, it was hard because I was so small. So in the Marine Corps, they actually have what they call, I think it's house mice or something like that. And they actually, after they do their bunk and everything, then they got to clean up the drill instructors' areas and make their bed and everything. So being the littlest, they always have the little people do that, and they kind of picked on the little guy the most just to see what they could do. And it was all right as long as you just did what you were told to do. And I was just happy to make it through boot camp, and I got meritorious PFC out of boot camp. From there, my MOS was 1142, which is electrical equipment repairman. And you go to school back at Camp Lejeune, but the classes were so overfilled, I got sent out to Camp Pendleton for a couple months just to kind of see what it was like out in the fleet and just watch and learn. So in February of 80, I got sent back to Camp Lejeune to electrical equipment repair school, and that was a approximately 16-week school. And after we learned that, then they kind of shipped us out to the different areas to be with the fleet. And my first duty station was supposed to be Okinawa, Japan. I was there for a couple weeks, and they needed a repairman on Iwakuni, So then I got sent to Iwakuni and was there for about a year.
Did you have any memorable instructors?
In boot camp, there was a drill instructor, Sergeant Nesbitt. And the reason I remember him is, like I said, they always put the little guy in the back on all the marches and everything. So being the little guy, a lot of times you're doing the runs, just stay up with the bigger guys. And the last day of when we were out training, combat training, he actually took me to the front of the platoon and let me lead that whole day, and I'll never forget that. So that was an inspiration.
After training, did you get a leave or did you go straight to your first assignment?
I got a leave, about a 9-day leave, before I went out to California. And then I think from California to Camp Lejeune, it was like just a couple days leave before I actually went to school.
How did you adapt to military life? Your physical regimen, the barracks, the food, the social life?
I enjoyed it, and my goal originally when I entered was to make a career out of it. That kind of changed. Like I said, I picked up meritorious PFC out of boot camp. Picked up Lance Corporal after 8 months. I'd actually picked up Corporal in 23 months, that's pretty good when you pick it up that quick. I had some instances with a lieutenant that was in our platoon. I was a quality control and modifications NCO as a corporal. So had a few disagreements on how to set things up that kind of hindered my not performance, but hindered. When you got ranked, you had to, of course, be selected by an NCO, which I had a couple sergeants that always selected me. But then you had to go through the staff NCOs and the lieutenant. And after I had a few words with one of the lieutenants on different things, how to set up electrical stuff, I was told I wouldn't go any farther. So kind of bummed out then, and was just ready to finish my time out and get out.
Your barracks?
Oh, I enjoyed the
Comfortable?
barracks.
You
I
did
was
like
comfortable
that?
in the barracks. I was
The
comfortable
food?
with once you're in the fleet, I mean, if you didn't like what they were having, of course, in Japan it was different because there wasn't really a lot of places to go unless it, like a food truck come up and you say fried rice or something like that. But when you're in the States, I mean, with nothing really going on like there is now, it's just like, oh, I'm just going to go out to Hardee's or just go eat somewhere. So if you didn't like what they had, I mean, you always had the option to go somewhere else and get something. And the bus, I mean, you had a lot of bus routes, and of course I had a car out there. So it was like, to me, the last 2 years, once I come back from Japan, the last 2 years I was in was basically like having a job in the civilian world.
Wartime service. Where did you serve?
Um, Beirut and Lebanon were going on. I actually didn't get sent over there. I just did time in Lejeune, which was about a year and a half, and then a year in Iwakuni, and went to NCO Academy in Okinawa. But I didn't have to actually see any combat service or anything.
Well, what was it like when you were like serving abroad? Did you have some memories that
Um,
you wanted to share of that experience?
it was different. The culture was different, and I actually got there middle of August. But then when the next August come around, and of course we'd bombed Hiroshima August 6th, and Iwakuni to Hiroshima, you could probably make it on the train in like 45 minutes. So a lot of times if you had a long weekend or something, you'd go up there and just visit and sightsee. And what'll stick out is they had a eternal flame in Hiroshima, and that was supposed to be the part where the atomic bomb actually landed, but it hit high, so it did more destruction. And they have a big old museum, and the first time we walked through there, you could just feel the tension from the older Japanese people that, you're seeing what actually happened, and you could just feel the tension as they're looking at you. And actually, that whole week of August, I don't know if they still do this. This was back in 1980, 81. They wouldn't let you off the base because there were so many people that, servicemen would go off the base and they'd get beat up or whatever. So that was kind of something to remember. You're there trying to protect them and save them, and and they're still angry at what happened 40 years ago.
What was the weather like?
To me, it's kind of the same as it is here. I mean, you still had the seasons, and it didn't snow, but it still got cold and stuff.
Did you see combat or were your duties away from battle?
My duties were all away from battle.
Um, so no specific casualties in your unit? Nothing
No,
like that?
no,
Did you make some close friends while you were in the service?
I did make some good friends.
Do you
Uh,
continue with those relationships?
Unfortunately, I've tried to contact them, but just haven't been able to.
Well, would you like to talk about any of your close friendships from service?
Um, there was a guy named Vernon. I can't remember his last name for the heck of it, but he lived in Chicago, Illinois, and we'd ride back and forth. If we had like a 96-hour leave or something, we'd ride back and forth from Camp Lejeune to here. And then there was a couple other guys. Ben McLeod was one of them. I would kind of get in trouble because I was an E4, which is supposed to be an NCO, and my best friends were privates and PFC. So it's like, at the same time I'd run around with them, but during the week I was supposed to order them and tell them what to do. And I learned there was a gunnery sergeant in Iwakuni, Japan we had to go clean out a ditch. I don't know if you've ever heard of a benjo ditch or anybody's talked about it, but benjo ditches in Japan when you're
What's
out.
a benjo? What's a
Benjo. It's I'm not sure
How do
what
you
the
spell
word
that?
means. I think it's BENJO.
Thank you.
But basically it was just ditches where Japanese men would relieve themselves. It was out in the town or whatever. So of course ditches flow everywhere, and we had a ditch that flew. We were on base, but you're still kind of in the vicinity because there's a little town out. Well, Iwakuni was just right outside of the base. And this gunnery sergeant told us, it's time to go out and clean up this ditch, pull all the stuff out of it. And at the time I might have been in E4, just picked up E4, and he's like, Corporal Gutierrez, go out, so and so go do this, these privates and stuff. So we're walking out there, and we're just kind of looking at this ditch, and he said, it's not going to kill you, and he just reached in there and grabbed up the paper, and it's like, oh, I can do that. So then I followed his lead, and then of course everybody else is following my lead. So by the time I got back to the States, I admired this gunnery sergeant. Kept, whatever he would say, I would do. And so when they'd say go do something, I would go out and I would actually physically do it with them. When a sergeant would come, what are you doing that for? You don't have to do that. And it's like, well, if I do it, it's easier for them to follow me. So that was kind of an experience. So another one that was in Japan.
What did you do for entertainment and relaxation?
Went and shot pool, the club, or we went bowling, or just stuff that anybody else would do.
And you got leaves and you would just come home and
Yeah, I
visit,
got
or
leaves.
did you
And
do anything special on any of your leaves?
probably the biggest one right after I got out of boot camp, would come home for the leave there. We had a great big, kind of family get together and everything. And as I served longer, it was like, oh, I'm gonna come home and everybody would get together. Well, it got to where I'd come home and I got to go see this person there and there and there. It wasn't like the big get-togethers anymore. Well, you probably know.
Were there ever any entertainers that came to visit your unit?
No, but on saying that, when I was in Iwakuni, the Pope at the time came to Hiroshima and spoke, and there was 4 or 5 of us that got selected out of the platoon to go see the Pope speak in Hiroshima. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's very nice. Do you recall any particular humorous or unusual event?
Yeah. This is Camp Lejeune. I had a 1970 Pontiac Le Mans. Got it for $500 off a lady in St. Louis. My mom and dad borrowed it out to me, and it was in rough shape. So of course, having rendering it like that, I put new mag wheels on it, and tires, and jacked it up. This was the 80s, so then put glass packs on it, and had a 354 barrel in it. And there was a sergeant that had a Monte Carlo, and we were goofing off one day, and he says, tell you what, we'll see who's got the fastest cars. We'll race out to McDonald's. I said, there's no way I'm going to lose this. Well, there happened to be a food truck parked there, a vending machine food truck. I threw it in drive, and I get to back that food truck. Oops. I ended up losing, but we had a good laugh over it.
What was your most memorable experience while serving?
I think the most memorable was picking up Meritorious PFC out of boot camp.
What does that mean?
There was, in boot camp, you have anywhere from 60 to 80 recruits come in. And at the end of boot camp, I think we had like 65. At the end of boot camp, they take the top 10% and they meritoriously promote them to private first class. I was actually the 7th in line, and they found an infraction the night before on one of the recruits that was supposed to be Meritorious PFC, and it bumped him out and moved me up. So that's kind of cool.
It's asking like when you were in Japan, what the food was like. Did you eat local food, drink local water?
Yeah, we drank the local water that come into the barracks. I don't think, the base may have had its own water system, but we still went out and still drank, the water out there, and of course alcohol. Marines don't drink alcohol. And I think my favorite food became fried rice over there, and it's really good over there. But we ate at local restaurants and stuff, and it was good. They actually had a place in the mountains called Three Falls, and they actually had like 3 falls that just dropped off into like a lake, and we'd go there a lot. So,
Where did you sleep there?
in the barracks,
And you had plenty of supplies and everything that you needed there?
yes.
Okay. Were you awarded any medals or citations?
I got the overseas ribbon for being overseas for a year, and then I got my good conduct, Marine Corps Good Conduct Medal.
Okay, because then asked what did you do to get them? What rank did you achieve?
So good conduct, you just didn't get caught for 3 years. I'm sorry.
That's okay. What rank did you achieve?
E4 corporal.
And E4 means what?
Corporal.
As a corporal. It says, where were you when the war ended and what was your reaction to the news?
I wasn't in really during wars.
Yeah, I know. Do you recall the day your service ended?
Yep, it was June 30th, 1983, and I was just ready to get the heck out of there.
Yeah, where were you?
I was at Camp Lejeune, French Creek.
Had you fulfilled your military service?
I filled my active service, and I was put on active reserve, or inactive reserve. I was on the inactive reserve for maybe 6 months or so, and then I actually joined the Illinois National Guard.
How did you return home?
I drove myself.
And the rest of the stuff is about coming home. How did you handle switching your mindset when it was time to come home, and was it difficult?
There wasn't really a mindset switch since there wasn't any combat action going on.
What kind of reception did you receive when you arrived home from your family, the community?
Family just welcome home, glad you're out. What are you going to do now?
Yeah. What did you do in the immediate days and weeks after your service ended?
Look for a job. Actually, about a month after I got out, I went to Dallas to work as an electrician. Did that for a few months and then come back, and then that's when I joined the Guards. It was like November of 80. Actually, it was longer than that. So in 84, I actually joined the Illinois National Guard. Couldn't really find work and didn't want to keep staying in Dallas and moved back. And
What have you been doing since then? What your career? We still have about over 10 minutes, so you can
Okay.
be as
detailed as I want.
yes.
Okay, after I got out, I went to Dallas, worked for Mills Electrical Contractors for a couple months, kind of homesick, excuse me, and come back. Still couldn't find any electrical work in Hillsboro or around the area. Went back out to Dallas. I was out there a year and a half working for Mills Electrical Contractors. My dad had started having some medical issues. I come back home, and like I said, I joined the Illinois National Guard, and I was in that for about 6 months. Got the Army Achievement Medal while I was in the Guard, and got out of that, and went to Hillsborough Hospital for a basic nurse's aide class. Worked as a nurse's aide for about 2 years. Had a couple of nurses try to talk me into going to LPN school, but I would get too close to the patients. So I got back into residential wiring. That led to working for a company in Springfield, Simplex, doing technical work on equipment they build, and just kind of went from job to job, improving myself as an electrical maintenance technician, which all that become from the Marine Corps, learning the electrical equipment repair. Did that until 2001, and then started having some medical issues with my legs and feet. Went back to Lincoln Land through the Department of Rehab and through my Illinois grant, veterans grant, used that to get an internet programming degree. Once I got that, I went to work for the Montgomery County Circuit Clerk, and I was scanning and microfilming old documents. When the new clerk come in, that finished, and then I went to just typing in judges' entries and dockets and information that lawyers would bring in. My hours got cut there. I got a job offer at State Farm. Went to classes for home and auto insurance, and then life and health insurance. Had to take all 4 state tests and pass that. Got my insurance license, and I'm working for State Farm.
So you used military benefits to pursue stuff in your
Yeah,
career?
a few.
And what were those benefits that you used?
They're called Illinois Veterans Grant benefits.
Are you a member of any veterans organizations?
Quite a few. I belong to the American Legion. I belong to the Marine Corps League. I belong to the Paralyzed Veterans of America Gateway Chapter. Let's see, is that it? I think that's it. Yeah, M3.
What activities do you enjoy participating in with these groups?
Probably, I do. I'm the coordinator for Toys for Tots at the Marine Corps League, and I enjoy that activity. And then we've started where we do food stands at the Vickers Market in Litchfield. Just a camaraderie, being back together with them, listening to some of the older veterans, where you can really hear the really cool stories. That's what I like, being around them, listening to what they went through, and then kind of thinking to yourself, what have I done in that situation? And just getting some admiration for what those veterans in Korea and World War II and Vietnam did, that some of us in my era don't realize, because we're kind of in between the stuff that they went through and then with the Desert Storm and Afghanistan.
Yeah, do you wish that you had a little more excitement in your time?
At times I do, and at times I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah. Do you ever think of what, had you not been in the military, what your life would have been, or what other paths you may have chosen to take?
I do wonder, and I have no idea what that path would have been. If it wouldn't have been for the Marine Corps and learning the electrical stuff, I probably would have been just some factory worker sweating my buns off. And instead of being the guy in the factory where, hey, I'm just going to sit in this air conditioned room until they call me out to repair something, and then go out and fix it. And then, it was, being in maintenance is a lot more. I mean, there's pressure times, but it's relaxing. I mean, you always got your maintenance and stuff, but you're not like that guy that's on the line 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day, just constantly going. You can kind of know when you can slow down a little bit, when you really need to bust your behind.
So were you're married now, currently married?
I'm currently married now.
Were you married at all during your time in the service?
I didn't get married while I was in the service. I got married in 1988 to my first wife, and we have 2 sons, Rocky and Garrett. Rocky was born in 1990. Garrett was born in 92. We were together till 2004 and had some issues. I think part of it was working in maintenance. I was making $18 an hour, and then you go from that to drawing disability. It was kind of a really hard adjustment for both of us, and uh, just had a tough time. Kind of glad I found out everything then. I got divorced, and I was divorced about 8 years from that. Sherry and I got married in 2014, so about 10 years I was divorced, and I met Sherry, and then she was in the middle of her divorce when I met her, and she got divorced, and we were together for a couple of years, and then we got married. We've been together since '08 now.
Do you encourage military service with your children at this point or no?
I gave them both the option and told them I thought they could both do it. Uh, their mother wanted them to pursue bachelor's degrees. Rocky pursued a bachelor's degree in anthropology from SIUE. Garrett was wanting to follow Dad's footsteps and be an electrician. He actually wanted to be an electrical engineer. He went to Lincoln Land, and Garrett's a hands-on kid. And my opinion was you need Rankin or ITT Tech or something like that. His mother's opinion was you have to have a bachelor's degree. So he's slight dyslexic. So he fought through college in Lincoln Land, fought through college at SIUE. He was keeping about a 3.0 average. As he struggled, I pushed Rankin and ITT. He just got accepted in the engineering program at SIUE, and his grades were plummeting. We went and checked out Rankin. I helped him get signed up. We got him through there. He graduated this May with a associate's in controlled systems technology. He's going back this semester, and he's going to graduate with his second associate's in applied systems. So he's been working for Phillips 66 and doing really good. So even though I would have liked to have seen him join the Marine Corps because I think it's cool. I'm on a Marine Corps website on Facebook, and it's cool to say, oh, my son just, followed my footsteps, just graduated from Marine Corps boot camp, or my daughter did this. That's kind of cool to see, but at the same time, you gotta let your child choose their own paths.
Have you had the opportunity to attend any reunions with anyone that you had?
No, not yet.
Have you haven't remained in contact or you reunited with any fellow veterans or anything that
no.
you served with?
Trying, but it's just, everybody's went their own ways and separate ways, and I think it's different when you've been through the service, and you get close to each other because you're there all the time with each other, so you do, bond that. There was one Marine, his name's Mickey Messick, and I've actually, now that you mention that, and I've thought of it a little bit, he's from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I would go up there on weekends and stuff, and we would occasionally Facebook back and forth. Hi, how you doing? How's your family? I haven't heard from him for a couple of years, but I know he's still there, and if I ever went out to Winston-Salem, that's where who I'd go see. But I don't think you get the bond just without serving in a combat role like them guys that actually serve together and been, this guy, you got to watch my back or else I'm gonna die. I don't think you get that true bond like they do just if you haven't seen any action.
Gotcha. We have just about a minute left. Is there any last final things you'd like to say or any comments you'd like, put on record here about anything?
I'd like to thank you, and I'm glad I got encouraged. Bill Cope has been encouraging me to do this for a couple years, and I kept saying I don't have a story, and I'm not sure I still have a story, but
no, well, you have family, and you have children, and this will be a part of your record. This is about you and your time, and that is going to be of interest to your family and to other people that maybe would like to see what other people's experiences were. And we really appreciate that you shared what your experience was with us today. And the Illinois State Library takes a lot of pride in our Veterans History Program. So Again, I want to thank you, and I also have this pin and stuff we'd like to give you. And had they told you you could bring any pictures or anything?
I did bring a few pictures.
Did you have anything that you'd like us to show or to speak about?
There is my Marine Corps boot camp picture, graduating, and I had a whole bunch more. But you know, when you go through a divorce and marriage, you kind of lose a few things in the movement. This is a cool one. This is my grandmother. She died in 2009. This is before I was going to Japan, and we were in the St. Louis airport this day, and Festus was there. And my mom and dad's got pictures of with Festus from Gunsmoke, and he happened to be flying out that day. But I missed him because I got on the plane, and right after I got on the plane, that's when they seen Festus. So that's kind of cool. That was a picture of us before I went to Japan.
Did you have any other things that you might want to?
I just got some awards and stuff.
Oh, you can show the awards that you've received as well.
Let's see. That's my meritorious PFC out of boot camp, which you usually get your ranks on the first day of the month. When you get meritorious, once you get them on the second day of the month, kind of makes them cool. And this was my class, electrical equipment repairman. That you go through your school for your MOS. And then y'all, if you want to become a non-commissioned officer or anything, you got to start your programs. And this is the non-commissioned officer leadership program that I did in Camp Hansen in Okinawa. And the other one I liked was, let's see, a certificate of good conduct for, like I said, not getting caught for 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, one of the Marines said, "Oh, you got your good conduct medal?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "So basically, you didn't get caught for 3 years." So, well, I guess you can kind of say it that way. And then this is my honorable discharge from the Marine Corps. I thought that was cool.
Well, that's very nice. We really do appreciate you sharing everything with us today, and we wish you the best in the future. Thank you so much. Thank you, Deb.